Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're once again watching another episode of Astroteric TV. I'm your host, the Astro Guru and owner of the Emerald Tablets. Today's video, what's today's date? I don't even know, it's like the 28th, 29th or something right now. I know that today is Thursday, and it's a day in April. So, ta-da! It'll be down in the film me a little box, it'll tell you the date. But anyway, today's video is on non-dimensions, okay? The non-dimensional realms that you can inhabit. Two things I want to tell you before we get into the video is that, one, every dimension has its own consciousness. Okay, so you leave this dimension that you in onto the next, you got to start from baby all over again and learn everything. Okay, it has its own consciousness. And second, I like to say that everything is connected. Now, those two things are not arguable, and we're going to continue. Now, the first dimension will be the dimension of a soul. Now, as a soul, you are simply a thought. Like, just think about saying something like, man, think about like when before you ever have a kid, you're like, man, I ain't gonna lie, a little version of me would be lit. That's your soul saying it wants to duplicate itself. Right? Now, that's you being a thought. That's just one person having a thought. Now, say you get into a relationship and y'all having sex. You and the person that you having sex with when y'all decide to combine the thought or y'all feelings before it even become feeling, y'all thoughts, like, what you think about babies? I like children. She having thoughts about having a baby with you. You having thoughts about having a baby with her. And then, feel me, feelings come into play. You slide into step two. It's not just a thought no more. Now it's a feeling. It's like, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like, feel me? I feel like she'd be a good mother. Shit like that. That's soul communicating through spirit now. The second dimensional realm is spirit. Where, you can actually be a sperm. You feel me? Because they're having sex. You went from just being a thought to now you're a sperm. And if that person gets pregnant and you come out, when you come out in your infancy, you have just hit 3D. You are now a being. You feel me? That's what you are now. You're a being. So when I say we live in 4D, but they say we live in 3D, when they say we live in 3D, they're partially correct. We live in the realm of beings because we are beings, human beings. However, beings can project themselves further and you can inhabit other realms. Now, that's 1 through 3. 4, 5, and 6 are going to be just slightly harder to understand because it's like it starts all over again. You're going to go from being invisible to a feeling to a being. Now, your fourth dimensional realm, you become an oversoul. Every time I use an example of what an oversoul is, I use Malcolm X or Tupac, because these people were beings, but after death, they've become oversouls to the point where the demeanor, the tenacity, the authenticity, these things can be embodied from these people. So like we can all act like Malcolm X or act like Tupac. We know how to duplicate the energy because there's so much of it out there. And it was so much attention paid to it that these people became oversouls. Now, at the 5, you become a judge. Now, when I say you become a judge, what I mean is the same way like how you went from a soul to a spirit. You go from an oversoul that people can embody to a judge, meaning that embodiment of you now has more prominence in what's being done behind it. So as a judge, you obviously can slam the gavel on other people's behaviors. So it's a godly trait to be a judge. However, when judging and not in a godly way, well, judging itself is ungodly. You don't want to be judgmental. However, there are certain traits and aspects that can be judged. We know what they are because there's negative, positive, dark, light. But saying what something is not judging. That's just telling the truth. When you vilify it for what it is, then you're judging. But at the 5, you will become a judge because obviously we don't just accept everybody. Judging exists. So at the 5, you will be a judge. That's where your demeanor, your spirit, your intellect, the things that you stood for, judge other people's behaviors. So like whoever came up with laws, certain laws that's still around 200-300 years ago, at some point became like a judge, esoterically type shit. When they do things like pass a law for Trayvon Martin, that's Trayvon Martin going into oversoul and then becoming a judge. Now, your 6th level, you become a star. You go back to the essence, like you leave the firmament. Now, this is where it just gets a little bit trickier because you're becoming the whole being. Now, I'll explain numbers later, but this is just the number of dimensions. So at the 6, you're a star. Like how we look up in the star, we could be like, that's Malcolm X, that's Tupac, that's such and such. Like that's Michael Jackson. Like you really know people wishing on a star. You can, feel me? Those are ancestors and things like that. Like those are beings, right? Now, even a star itself is a being. That's the thing. Like from your body of water, things like that. Like it's being. Stars do things. Like they travel, they move, they eat, they feel me. They like shed, different things like that. They have their phases and they go through seasons and everything else. But we also know a star is not a planet. So at the 7th dimension, like when 2 stars collide, boom, and they mess around and become a planet. They get together and then now, boom, they become a planet. You feel me? They get into orbit and things like that. They get real hot, they explode, and then they cool down like how the Earth was made. Now you've got a planet. This planet is like a parent, like how we say Mother Earth, and it's taking care of us. It's literally feeding us. It's literally getting rid of a lot of our waste and things like that. So the planet is alive. Like Earth is alive. Planets live. These are beings. These are children. Now, after being a planet and knowing how to sustain 8 billion people, after you become like a Mother Earth, and you know how to sustain not just taking care of 1 kid, 2 kids. Now you like, I take care of 8 billion people. Like, you feel me? I get rid of the waste. I bring new people in. Like, you feel me? And I got this system that these microbes have, you feel me, done what they do. Same way, just like your body got different bugs and organisms in it, bacteria is the same way we are the bacteria on the earth. The organisms, the microbes, the microbials, you feel me? That's us. Now, after leaving the planet, you become a galaxy. You can do this for multiple planets now. Instead of just taking care of the people on the planet, you take care of multiple planets that are taking care of multiple billions and billions and trillions of people. Things like that. So once you've hit 8 and you're a galaxy, the only thing left for you to do is become 9, the universe. And now you have reached what we call God status. That is the one God, the universe. Which is why when people say, hey, I thank the universe. And, you know, that's what's going on. Now, anything outside of that, it's just tit for tat arguing for the sake of, you feel me, going back and forth. And I'm willing to do it, but I won't. So I see y'all later. Another episode down, you heard. Let's get it.